Premature birth is the #1 killer of babies. Those who survive often face birth defects and complications that affect them for life. For hundreds of thousands of families in the United States, this is the hardest thing they will ever have to face. And it's even harder on the baby. March of Dimes is providing education and support to families and funding life-saving research to give every baby a fighting chance. You can help. Do something today. Give them tomorrow at marchofdimes.org/tomorrow.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill, a breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help, just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The following letters were written by our troops.
My dear fellow Americans, I truly appreciate your support. I was starting to wonder if people had forgotten about us over here, but then one of my buddies showed me this website, and now as tears are streaming down my face, I can see for sure that you haven't. Private Emily B., U.S. Army.
It's so heartwarming to see the American people not letting the men and women of the armed forces be forgotten. Your letters make a group of grown men, battle-hardened and gruff, act like a bunch of kids around a Christmas tree. Thanks. Staff Sergeant Matthew H., U.S. Army.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. But don't take our word for it. Take theirs. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
Thousands of families affected by disasters, like the recent wildfires, urgently need support. You can help the American Red Cross provide warm meals, shelter, and hope to families when they need it most. Please donate today to Red Cross Disaster Relief to help people affected by disasters, big and small. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. Your support is critical. We can't do it without you.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you could still have hepatitis C, a serious disease that's a leading cause of liver cancer. If you were born from 1945 to 65, you should get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments can cure this disease. Talk to your doctor about getting tested. A message from the CDC.
Hello there, this is Nat King Cole, wishing you all a happy and a Merry Christmas.
The joy of living is in the giving. So let's give lots of toys for tots.
Since 1947, the United States Marine Corps has been helping Santa fill his sleigh, making happier holidays for deserving children right in your community. Go to toysfortots.org and learn how you can make a difference.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
And a good Wednesday morning to you, one and all. It is I, your lovable host, Rod, coming to you live from the bunkerized studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. And yes, I did check again this morning, and it has not changed. Here it is, Wednesday, January number 4 in the year of our Lord 2017. The call-in number is, as usual, 603-835-3226. You might want to write that down in case you want to use it. Got a lot to cover. Going to try to cover some stuff that we didn't get to yesterday that's still important today. Got some new bunches and bunches of new stuff in the paper pile this morning as well. We'll try to get to all of that. Got some stuff from the Zuck is going to embark on a nationwide tour. For those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Rio Linda, the Zuck is short for Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. We've got some movement overnight from Obama. Obama is on the move. I guess he's just trying to shore up his legacy a little bit. Hey, I'm not such a wimp after all. First, there is a story running around about how the United States, for the first time since World War II, doesn't have a carrier at sea, aircraft carrier. At least one of the 10 super carriers is not out there floating around the world seas. And there are people that have looked at this, and I've seen all kinds of comments. Well, this is BS and fake news and all that kind of stuff. And I always try to make sure that I can back this stuff up. And even though laymen would also include myself in this type of stuff, but laymen out there, some of them have saying this is BS. But when I check, everywhere I check, this is also hitting not just, the alt media and some of the questionable alt media, like YouTube, some of those so-called news channels on YouTube. I watch those sometimes just to get a laugh because, they think that's news, and I think that it's already been proven to be a joke. But anyway, this is also starting to hit so-called real news, that we don't have a carrier out there, that they're all going to be in port, either for refurbish, refit, repair, or refuel. And that's not a good thing. You can't have, I mean, that's basically, I mean, yeah, we still have some frigates and destroyers out there, but that's not air power. So I have posted on my Facebook page, the Rod Eccles Show page, that we don't have a carrier out there. And I am continuing trying to get clarification on this issue. And the more I look, the more I see other news outlets that are legit that are also picking this up. So now I bring this up because evidently last night the Sun.co.uk, the Sun.com, is talking about, has an article with has a piece here about war games. The U.S. sends special forces to Russian border as NATO is poised to strike back at Vladimir Putin's aggression. Evidently, Russia is reportedly building up a nuclear arsenal in the province of Kaliningrad, which borders Poland and Lithuania. Now, the Polish have been saying for quite some time that they have been worried about a buildup along their border after the Crimea incident of Ukraine. And you have to understand, when it comes to Ukraine, when it comes to those countries on the border of Russia, really they have never recovered from their militaries have never recovered from World War II, when Hitler basically destroyed them. They've never recovered. When World War II ended, they didn't have their freedom. They were all of a sudden swallowed up by the Soviet Union, the USSR. And the Soviet Union did all of that. And so when the wall fell, they were already behind the eight ball because a lot of that equipment and training and soldiers were Russian, and they left. And those are not countries that have massive economies, so they could spend a whole ton of cash on building up their military. And we can see what happened when Putin decided to roll into Crimea. There was not much the Ukraine could do. Their military was, it's kind of like, remember when Putin rolled over the country of Georgia, basically decimated Georgia's entire military in short order. It's kind of like us going up against Iraq. Saddam just didn't have a chance, and snowball's chance in hell. Just wasn't going to happen. So this is the same thing that is happening along that former Cold War border. And they've been warning about this for years. Over the past 6 years at least. This is all under Obama's watch, and he's ignored it. Now let's remember the famous accidental open mic quote that Obama said to, his Putin's surrogate when Putin was just prime minister and not president because of the Russian. Does that mean that he can't be president again? Because didn't he got reelected, right? So they can only serve 2 terms at a time. Not like here in the U.S. where it's 2 terms and you're out for good. Evidently in Russia, it's 2 terms, take a break, you can come back. Take a break for a term, you can come back. Is this Putin's? I have to check that. I'm not sure if he's in his 2nd term again, which would be his 4th term. Is he going to have to take another break? Or did they change that? I don't know. We'll have to look into that to make sure. But Putin has always been in charge. Make no mistake about it. Even that That's what, 6-year stint, I think the Russian president serves. Even that stint when he was prime minister and he was out, he was still in. And we also have to remember that, when Obama said, hey, tell Vlad that when I get reelected, I'll have a lot more flexibility. So Obama never had any intention of really challenging Putin doing anything in Eastern Europe. He didn't. He was giving Vlad a wide berth. And you had the Polish and the Ukrainians and the Lithuanians and the Belarusians and others over there warning about what Putin was doing. And so now all of a sudden, the only time Obama takes action that seems to go against Putin is when his buddies down in the Middle East find themselves on the opposite side of Putin. Obama's like, hey, I like those other guys, Vlad. You can't be killing them now. And he still doesn't do anything. He draws a line in the sand. Putin not only steps over it, he just basically takes his foot and wipes that line out and then laughs. And a good old boisterous Russian laugh. Ha 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 ha! What do you do now, my friend? But yeah, so overnight we've got this new story. Russia is reportedly building up a nuclear arsenal in the province of Kaliningrad, which basically borders Lithuania and Poland and Belarus. And Obama's response is to send special forces. Okay. Now, we might think, well, yeah, that's great, special forces. Now think special forces like SEAL Team 6. They're a small group of guys. Yes, ladies, it's just guys. They're a small group of guys. Usually, they run around in companies, usually less than a dozen. Usually 6 or less. But I don't think I've ever seen special forces teams ever deployed with more than a dozen men. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. I mean, I'm not privy to all the insider information like that kind of stuff in military, but that usually doesn't happen. So unless their job is just to really sneak around all over Kaliningrad and take out nuclear sites, which is highly unlikely, then they're not going to be able to do much against nuclear and more conventional weaponry because, special forces don't often have heavy artillery to back them up either. It's just them and their guns, and that's it. Don't give me special forces, those guys are, wow. They're incredible. They're incredible human beings, but they're still human beings. And they need a lot more than what is being done so far. But and then, of course, there are people that are currently worried about. Well, Obama's not leaving the White House. Well, yeah, he's gotta. Well, if we get into war, he won't have to leave. Like, no, it's a little late for that. Election has already taken place. The Electoral College has taken place. There is no stopping the transfer of power, even in the middle of a war. It's just not going to happen. I mean, that would be... Well, you want to see some upset Americans if he even tried to pull that. I don't think they were... Frankly, I don't think the Secret Service would even protect him. I'm being frank on that. I don't think that's really going to fly. But look, I've said I would not be surprised if he tried to pull such a stunt. Because after all, he's worried like you would not believe about his legacy because the Republicans, they're getting wobbly legs at the moment, but they're already starting to, put things in place to dismantle much of his legacy. I mean, he's not liking that. which is why, he's going to stay around in Washington, D.C. in order to he's going to stay around in D.C. in order to protect his legacy, whatever that legacy is, which is not much in my book. Well, actually, it's a lot. It's a legacy of devastation and destruction in his wake. There's a lot of repairing that has to go on over the next 4 years. And we're not going to get anywhere near done in 4 years. It's going to take more than 4 years. This is one thing Republicans and conservatives have to keep in mind. Look, it took the Democrats 60, 70 years to destroy us to this point. It's not, and I know there have been temporary reprieves. The Reagan years were a temporary reprieve, and part of the Bush years were a temporary reprieve. But basically, there's been 60 or 70 years of liberals going further and further to the left, instituting more and more of their liberal policy that is pervasive in our country right now and in our culture. It is pervasive in our country and our culture, this liberalism. And it is going to take more than 4 or 8 years to repair the damage and put us on a completely new and different road. Not saying that we can't do it, because it can be done, and we definitely have to try. But it's not going to be easy. And we have to be a little bit patient. Not so patient that, that things don't get done, but we got to be at least a little bit patient. In other words, you got to give Trump, when Trump gets sworn in, you got to give him more than 100 days. Everybody's going to talk about his first 100 days, as they do with every new president, but there's going to be even bigger, more eyes and bigger expectations for Trump's first 100 days. And I'm telling you right now, you got to give the guy some time, because he still has to deal with Congress that isn't 100% behind him. And I'm not even talking just about the Democrats. The Republicans aren't still 100% behind him, which is a sad, sorry state of affairs. But you got to give him time, be patient. He will be able to make some changes. Not all the changes that he wants or that we want, but you got to expect there's going to be some resistance. And boy, I got something later on today I'm going to talk to you about resistance. I mean, this is just ridiculous that's out there. You're listening to me, your lovable host, L. Rod, here on the Rod Eccles Show.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar. Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar. And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
One of the, I know a lot of people talk about this notion, what if Hillary were elected president? Would Putin still act the way he's acting? And the question is, he'd probably be worse. Look, he's had his way over the past 8 years with Obama. You know, he's played Obama like a fiddle. A Stradivarius, even. Putin has pretty much gotten just about everything he's wanted. Now, is Putin a warmonger? Not exactly, but you have to understand this guy is former KGB. This guy is former Soviet Union. We're not talking some low-level hack in the former communist Soviet government. He was a rising star. One of the things that and he still has that mindset of somehow, some way reassembling the USSR, not in the way that it was before, that and drop this Iron Curtain veil across Eastern Europe, but to still be able to have control and influence over the regions that he wants to. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not into the Soviet Union was supposedly all about world domination. Now, I don't believe Putin is about world domination, but he is about Russia, protecting Russia, advancing his people, the Russians. And he does have this arrogance. There are a number of cultures that have, everybody talks about how Americans are arrogant. Let me tell you something. Americans are not the most arrogant people in the world. Look, I've run into some Russians here in New England. There are some arrogant people. Yeah, the French are pretty arrogant, but Russians, the French don't hold, aren't superior in arrogance when it comes to Russians. Russians are very arrogant people. And they have this notion that not necessarily that they're better, but they do have the notion that they have a superior culture. With the vodka. They have this. They've come out of the Soviet Union era, and they think that they're all that. And look, everybody thought that the Soviet Union was dead. Russia was dead. It wasn't going to be a major world power anymore. Well, that didn't happen. It didn't become a second-class military. No, hardly. They don't have nearly as many nuclear warheads as they used to, but trust me, they have plenty. But they're not a second-class or second-rate military by no means. And Putin has made some inroads with his former enemy, the Chinese. You got to understand the history of all this stuff. Really, you got to pay attention to the whole thing and how all this. What a lot of people do is they just see what's happening now. They see and they don't put two and two together because they don't know the history of how we got to now. And then when you get the history and you understand how we got to now, then you start to see a bigger picture and your eyes open up and you can see a bigger world than what you once saw. And for some people, that's very frightening.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please, call or go online right now.
Warning. Listening to the Rod Eccles Show by the Idiot Left may cause outrage, fear, a need for safety pins and or spaces. If you experience any of these symptoms or are allergic to truth, tune in and learn something, Snowflake.
Six 603-835-3226. One of the things that some people ask is, what if Hillary had actually won? What would happen? We've said Trump is not so much. Everybody tries to accuse on the left, tries to accuse Trump of, well, he's going to have his finger on that button. We can't trust him with that. He's a warmonger. No, Trump's not really a warmonger. In fact, they were accusing Trump of cozying up to Putin before he even got in office. Yeah, he's cozy with Putin, man. And yet they're against war, but the person that they should have been worried about was Hillary. And that biddy is not exactly a peacemonger, if you know what I mean by that. It was her design to go in there and take out Gaddafi in Libya. I guess she had to make a name for herself, and it sort of flopped big time. But her and Obama were playing this game, this chess game, and they're not very good at it, and they lost. So would Putin have rather have had Hillary Clinton at this particular point in time? Yeah, because he already knows her. He's already played her. You know, the Russian reset. You know, Hillary and Obama back in the day, and they said, yeah, you know, we hit the reset button with Russia. We reset relations with them. And Putin is over there smiling, laughing, you know, and telling jokes behind their backs. And yeah, he would have much rather, to tell you the truth, I think Putin would have much rather have had Hillary win. Because it would have been a third term of Obama, and look what he's done with Obama. Now, Trump to Putin is an unknown. Putin doesn't like unknowns. He likes knowing stuff. Now, nobody really, we all like to think that we got an idea of how Trump is going to govern, but nobody knows because he's never held public office. Trump is a 100% unknown. Hillary was a huge known. I mean, she's got years and years and years of histoire. What's the Russian word for history? I don't know what it is. I don't. The only Russian I know is vodka. I don't even think that's Russian, but that's the only Russian I know. Or niet. I know that's no, right? Niet. That's about the extent of my Russian. I don't know any Russian. And we didn't even have Russian classes when I was in high school. Do they have those now? Not even in college. There wasn't even Russian in college, which is really kind of strange now that I think about it. There was no Russian in either of my colleges. There was no Russian in high school. Now you can learn Farsi. You can actually learn, well, it's the Arabic language that is very common. But Arabic languages are much like Chinese. There's different dialects. You have, Mandarin is probably the most popular Chinese language dialect. But Farsi, I think, is the most popular of the Arabic dialects. And you can learn Farsi in college. But I don't ever remember being offered in the chat room. LJ tells me what the Russian word for history is. Unfortunately, it's written in Russian. I don't know the Russian alphabet either. Thanks, LJ. But yeah, I think that that Putin would have much rather have had Clinton because she was a very known entity to him. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see things coming out and Putin making certain moves that he, if he hasn't already made them, in an effort to get things in places that he wants them before Trump takes office, because he doesn't know what Trump is going to do. Now, he's heard Trump like the rest of us that, NATO needs to take more responsibility and take the burden off the U.S. of A. Which Trump is right about that. They need to pony up their dimes and nickels for their own protection, not just rely so much on us. But the problem is that they're just not ready. They don't. A lot of them, especially Eastern European NATO countries, just don't have the economies in order to build a massive military, nor do they have the populations to do so. So that's going to be a little tricky. So Putin is already making his moves prior to Trump because he doesn't know what Trump's going to do. Other than the fact that he really believes that Trump is going to rebuild our military. Now, understand, Putin is not sitting back and twiddling his thumbs on his military. We've known for some time that they've been spending, which is part of the reason why the oil and gas prices dropping has hurt Russia so much, because Putin has been using that money to rebuild the Russian military. Make no mistake of it, we know this is a fact. I don't know why people even want to try to argue with me about it. But he's been doing it. And I think he would have rather have had Hillary there because he'd still be able to try to manipulate. He hasn't been very successful. There's one thing he has not been very good at, and that is manipulating the energy reserves pricing of the world. And that's because he cannot control or even influence OPEC, which is another reason why he's now moving into the Middle East big time, especially with Syria. He wants, and Iran, and getting cozy with Iran. He wants that influence. You understand? He wants the influence. The problem is that if you get a president in office who actually does want U.S. energy independence, that's also going to be a problem for him, because there's no way in hell he's going to be able to influence what the U.S. does, especially if you have a strong, independent U.S. president. And that is more likely to be Trump than Hillary. Putin also knows that. But he's been in the Middle East now just because he wants that energy influence so he can try to manipulate the energy markets more effectively, thus bringing more dollars or rubles into Moscow so he can use some of that to keep rebuilding the military. Don't doubt me on that. Russians are very good at playing chess, people. I don't know how to play chess. I'm terrible at it. I'm very good at checkers, but chess, not so much. But I understand chess. And I understand that in order to be very good at it, you've got to think multiple turns ahead. Based on what you think your opponent's going to do, based on what he's already done, and what you want to do to counter that in order to get to win the game. You're thinking multiple moves ahead. Well, that's Putin. This guy thinks so far ahead. I mean, it'll blow your mind. I understand he is a very good chess player, by the way. Now, I know some people are probably thinking, well, geez, Rod, aren't you waxing poetic about Putin? You love Putin? No. I admire and respect the man. I don't like him. But I admire and respect him for what he's been able to do. Plain and simple. And you have to understand that Putin likes things in order. He likes things that he can predict. He likes things that he can possibly influence. And there are certain aspects in the Middle East that he cannot currently predict or influence, which is why he's on the sides that he's on. He can predict and influence Iran. Well, Iran has a certain, they're on a certain side of Islam that Putin is going to have to support. Now, since Iran is on the side of the Syrian regime, and we're against Iran, which means now we're against Assad, well, guess which side Putin's going to be on? Think about it. This is not by accident, folks. Some people just think, Putin just likes Assad for whatever reason because Assad, bought some of his military, blah, blah. Folks, you got to think, 10 moves ahead. And if you were any type of student of history, which Obama does not seem to be, if he is, he ignores it. You would have seen this coming. You would have seen Putin coming down on the side of Assad as soon as we came down on the side opposite of Assad. Why? Because Assad is aligned with Iran. Iran likes to get cozy with Russia. And Russia likes to get cozy with Iran. Why? Because Iran hates America. Does Putin love America? Hell no. Do you think he's going to get buddy-buddy with our enemies? No, he's going to support our enemies, kind of like a de facto. Remember Vietnam? That was kind of a de facto war. The Chinese were heavily involved in the Vietnam War. Kind of like a de facto war with the U.S. But you just you really have to put all this in perspective, and you have to understand the history of how we've gotten to the point where we are. Because right now, if you look at the Middle East and if you don't look at it with a historical perspective and point of view, you just think it's a complete and total, utter, chaotic mess. Yes, it's a mess. It is a mess. But it's not chaotic. There is order to it. You just have to look at the history in order to figure out what that order is. Now comes this guy by the name of Donald Trump, who doesn't like ISIS and all of its incarnations, who wants them all dead and destroyed and gone and wiped from the earth. So does Putin. So now it's like, wait a minute. Are those rebels? I mean, think about this for a second. I know somebody. They tried to. I can't remember who it was. They tried to explain the Middle East, Obama and the Hillary policy in the Middle East. In Syria, Obama is for ISIS because they're against Assad. But in Iraq, they're against ISIS because ISIS is against the Iraqi government that we try to support, the new Iraqi government. Well, how the hell can you support in one country and supply them with arms and expect them to keep those arms in that theater and not? That's why it's a mess. Because these people have made it a mess. But historically speaking, it's very clear. And those who can think clear and not try playing both sides of the coin, and who are not trying to, somehow, I know everybody, I've said it. I have said it before. Obama he's not only a Muslim sympathizer, I believe he's a Muslim. I think the history of that pretty much shows it. I think his personal history shows that he's more than a Muslim sympathizer. And he's more than a radical Muslim sympathizer. He won't say terrorist. He won't say ISIS. He only says ISIL. And the reason why he says ISIL is because it attacks and groups and lumps in Israel. Oh, folks, you got to look at the history of all this. I'm telling you, this is you cannot look at it in a narrow glass and say, well, this is the circle of the Middle East and this is what's happening. No, there's a whole reason behind all of that. And the history goes not just with Putin and not just with the different factions, Farsi and all the other factions in the Middle East, but it also goes to Obama's personal history. That's what you've got to pay attention to. And that personal history tells you a huge story, puts everything else in perspective. So what would Putin rather have? He'd rather have Hillary as president. She's a known commodity that he could play like a Stradivarius. Trump is kind of on the side of Putin when it comes to the Middle East as far as terrorists are concerned. That makes him an unknown. And Putin's not certain about what to do about that. Not yet.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar. Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar. And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
People are still revving up, counting down the days. What are we at? 16, 15 days until Obama is done. And hopefully we'll start getting the man up, the manification of the American male once again. Is that a new word? Is that a George Bush word? We need some manification here. All our men are becoming wimps. We need some manification. And I bring that up because the College Fix is reporting something. Now, I don't, well, you know, I really wonder about the American male. I don't know if it's worldwide at least Western worldwide. If this is an issue, or if this is the way humanity is going, this sort of feminization and wimpification of the male, I'm not. It may not just be a U.S. thing. But there are, I don't see it happening in Russia. I don't see it happening. I think men are still men in places like Iceland. I know Iceland is the home of the man bun, and I can't stand those things. But, if you're a big, strapping, tall, pale-skinned Icelandic guy, you can get away with a male bun. Or, man bun, whatever the stupid hairstyle. But it doesn't work for most other people. It just doesn't. Male college students are to undergo critical self-reflection of masculinity. This is from the College Fix. The goal is to create a sense of security and vulnerability. There is no security and vulnerability. What is the whole notion of vulnerability? Vulnerability basically means you don't have any choice, and you're vulnerable. You can't defend yourself. Masculinity has nothing to do with vulnerability. Some of the most asinine stuff is happening in our colleges. University of Wisconsin and Madison is currently taking applications for its men's project, a 6-week program that aims to counter the alleged harmful effects of society's masculinity paradigms and pressures and empower participants to promote gender equality. There is no gender equality. We're not the same. We're not the same by design. Our brain chemistry, our chemicals in our brains are different. The ratios, that is. The chemicals in our bodies, the ratios are different for a reason. We're not equal. I'm not saying one sex is superior to the other. We're just not equal. And to expect men to somehow root out the evolutionary pattern of what maleism is, which is written in our DNA code, is just absolutely ludicrous. What we're producing is a bunch of confused, wimpy, small males. This is just... It's insidious at its core, yes. But there's nothing wrong with being a man and being masculine about it. It doesn't mean you ride roughshod over other people or women in general, but you can still be a man. And you don't have to be vulnerable. I'm a man, I need to get in touch with my feelings because women love it when a man cries and is in touch with their feelings. Bullshit on that. Be a man.
If you love to smoke, then you know there's no place left in America where you can light up a butt these days. That's why Carnival is proud to offer our new Smokers Cruise. You'll board our luxury liner and be off to, who cares where you go. The point is, you'll be in international waters where you can smoke 24 hours a day for a full 2 weeks.
They let us smoke on the dance floor, at all our meals, even in the pool.
I like all the activities. Smoke-alongs, cigar races. Hey, I met a babe who smokes unfiltered Luckies. What?
The Smokers Cruise. Sign up now for regular or menthol. Hey, it's not just a vacation. It's the lung boost.
It's my friend. Could see me now.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The following letters were written by our troops.
My dear fellow Americans, I truly appreciate your support. I was starting to wonder if people had forgotten about us over here, but then one of my buddies showed me this website, and now as tears are streaming down my face, I can see for sure that you haven't. Private Emily B., U.S. Army.
It's so heartwarming to see the American people not letting the men and women of the armed forces be forgotten. Your letters make a group of grown men, battle-hardened and gruff, act like a bunch of kids around a Christmas tree. Thanks. Staff Sergeant Matthew H., U.S. Army.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. But don't take our word for it. Take theirs. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you could still have hepatitis C, a serious disease that's a leading cause of liver cancer. If you were born from 1945 to 65, you should get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments can cure this disease. Talk to your doctor about getting tested. A message from the CDC.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill, a breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help. just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
Thousands of families affected by disasters, like the recent wildfires, urgently need support. You can help the American Red Cross provide warm meals, shelter, and hope to families when they need it most. Please donate today to Red Cross Disaster Relief to help people affected by disasters, big and small. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. Your support is critical. We can't do it without you.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
And welcome back, folks. It is I, your lovable host, Rod, coming to you live from the Bunker I studio, where the state motto is still "Live Free or Die." I'm sorry, I'm just cracking up because of the chat room here on Spreaker.com. 603-835-3226 is the number. Yes, here in the wonderful Granite State, the state motto is still "Live Free or Die." It is not big government or bust. It is Wednesday, January number 4 in the year of our Lord 2017. In Rush Limbaugh's language, for those in Rio Linda, it would be January 4th. Not January number 4. I know that may confuse some people. I try not to be too confusing here. I try to be very understandable. But, there's only so much I can do. I mean, I can only go so low. But anyway, we're having a discussion in the chat room about cigars and pipes and cigarettes. I don't like cigarettes. Cigarettes are nasty, stinky little things. I know there are people that like cigarettes, and I don't believe that we should have all of these taxes on cigarettes or other tobacco products either. One thing I cannot stand, however, is I don't know how anybody does the chewing tobacco thing. That's just nasty and gross because you got to spit it out. Ugh. Chewing tobacco is that is kind of disgusting, really. I guess I can tolerate cigarettes. I don't smoke them, but I can tolerate cigarette smoke, but chewing tobacco was one. My grandparents, I remember snuff. Anybody remember snuff? Do they still have that? I don't know. My grandparents, even my grandmother, they used to chew or snuff. Yuck! That was just gross, man. But yeah, I'm a cigar aficionado, and my father smoked a pipe. All my life. I don't ever remember a time when he didn't smoke a pipe, to tell you the truth. In fact, if you actually look at my Facebook page, probably one of the first pictures of me and my father together, him holding me as a baby, he's got a pipe in his hand. So yeah, I don't ever remember a time when he didn't smoke a pipe. I don't know when he picked it up. Obviously before I was born, but I don't know when he picked it up. But I just the snuff thing and chewing tobacco just ugh. And I remember the snuff used to come in those little small tin canisters. I don't know what. There's nothing like it today. It's not. It didn't come in like. Well, you got the chewing tobacco. It's always come in those rather hockey puck shaped tins. Snuff didn't. Snuff came in. I don't know if they bought it by the box or the gross, but it was just a plain tin can with a tin cap, and there was no markings or lettering or logos on the cans at all. And they used to pile up, and before recycling was big, those cans used to pile up in the garbage can, because both on my mom's side, my grandfather and grandmother and great-grandfather on occasion dipped in the snuff. I never understood it. It also stunk. I sniffed it. Well, I remember it very well, like it was yesterday. Stuff was awful. It just stunk. It tasted like, or it smelled like it was molasses. Is that what snuff is? Is snuff mixed with molasses? Because it smelled like there was some molasses mixed in there. It's like rotten molasses, if that's possible. I don't know. Anyway, is that a manly thing to chew tobacco? There are certain things that I don't find sexy in women. Now, oddly enough, I think it's kind of sexy when a woman smokes a cigar. I do. Is that weird of me? I find it kind of sexy when not a little thing either. Not a cigarello, which is basically a cigarette-sized cigar, and they call them cigarello. I'm not talking about those, and not ones with those little plastic tips on the. I'm talking about a big honkin', Churchill, or even bigger ring gauge cigar. I think that's pretty damn sexy, actually. Now, when it comes to a pipe, if I see a woman smoking a pipe, the only thing I can think of is grandma in the holler, sitting on the porch with those corncob things. It just that a woman in a pipe isn't very sexy to me. But a cigar, different story. I don't know why. It's just weird. I get it. Just a male thing, I guess. But a woman chewing tobacco? Oh man, that is a huge turnoff. I don't like chewing tobacco anyway, even when guys do it. But when a woman has chewing tobacco, man, that is a massive turnoff. Sorry, it is. I know some people are saying, what the hell does that have to do with politics, Rod? Nothing. We got Obama over there who can't do a damn thing against Putin, and he's preparing us for war, and he's docking all our ships, and you're talking about tobacco. Well, I like cigars, and as long as I can, I always tell people, look, if you don't like what I talk about in my show, start your own. It's not hard anymore. It really isn't. But I talk about what interests me on this program, because I believe what interests me would also interest my audience. And obviously, if people are talking about cigars, talking about them is obviously going to interest them. I happen to like cigars. I love cigars. And I like trying different ones, too. There are some that I don't like, but there are some that I love. My favorite brand is still, my favorite everyday brand, although I've been smoking a lot more Perdomos lately. Those have been replacing my Fuentes, Arturo Fuentes. Some of the more expensive sticks that I love are by Ashton. And the only way I can seem to get Dunhill now is if I mail order it. I can't find any Dunhills locally anymore. I don't know what's up with that. But Dunhill was one of my first cigars. Man, that was an awesome stick. I've liked a few others. I'm not a huge Acid fan. I know Acid is a big brand here in the Northeast, at least. But I'm not a huge Acid brand aficionado. A lot of people are. There was a cigar once called a Bullet. And it was shaped like a very oversized bullet, but it was shaped like a bullet. And it was a runt stick. It was short. Much like Arturo Fuente's Short Story is a short, it's a quick smoke cigar, because they're so short. But it was wonderful. And then they stopped making them. Oh well. But it was called Bullet. It was called Bullet. And I think that was the brand name, Bullet too. But they don't have it anymore. So anyway, we have a few large cigar stores in the New England area that I frequent from time to time. I know my favorite cigar shop, oddly enough, if you don't already know, the name of this store, he's got 4 stores, Castro's Back Room. He's not a Cuban fan, actually, or a Castro fan, Fidel Castro. But that is his logo is a younger version of Fidel Castro with a cigar stick in his mouth. Well, because everybody likes Cuban cigars. They're still the world standard. I heard they're not as good as they used to be, although when I went on the cruise back in September and we were on the islands, and I was able to get off on the island in St. Martin and buy a real Cuban cigar. Ooh, man, that was good. It was good. Anyway, back to this whole thing with these kids. Basically they're kids. You're trying to turn these kids into they're already minds full of mush, and now you're trying to mold them into be wimps. Well, this men's project creates a space for critical self-reflection and dialogue about what it means to be a man and how masculinity impacts us and those around us. That's what organizers say in their promotional material. So I guess smoking cigars is too manly. That's out. No more cigar rooms. No more men's clubs. Why don't we just stop having men's clothing? Why don't we just have unisex? There's already this unisex clothing garbage out there. The other day, was it last weekend? Weekend before? Over the holiday weekend, I caught a program on cable. What is it was the Fashion Runway, whatever it's called. But it wasn't the regular one. It was for kids, teens. You had a bunch of teenagers competing for like $25,000 scholarship or something like that for college. But they had some very interesting designs. I'm not gonna lie. I was watching it simply because it was teenagers, and it was 3 girls and a boy. And yes, you better believe the teen boy was a little chubby. He was a chubby Asian. Pacific Islanders from Hawaii. And yeah, he was bent. Yeah, he would have to be. I hope to God that he's not straight acting that way, because if that's the case, then men in this country are in big trouble. If that's going to be the future of masculinity. But anyway, they had some very interesting designs. Some of the stuff, and this one particular girl that actually won, I actually liked her the best, and I thought she would lose, but she actually won. She had she had styles that most of her styles, they each had to come up with 6, I think. But 5 out of her 6 styles, I could see women wearing somewhere. Out in the town at night to a ball or something. There's only one that was like really kind of, I don't think anybody's ever going to wear. You ever notice that? Nobody ever wears that crap that they put on these high fashion model runways. Where does that stuff come? Where is it? Who wears that? Nobody wears that. But she created stuff that I thought would look good on women and women would wear. Real women. And she's the one that won. I was surprised. But they had some others on there, and they had this kind of unisex type of thing. And then I've seen all these other, pictures of, while researching for the show online about male models walking down the runway with this clothing that what man is going to wear that? And then, strangely enough, if you keep looking at that stuff, you see pictures of males on the street wearing similar stuff. And these are supposed to be straight guys. I'm not talking about the gay guys. I'm talking about the straight guys. So there is a massive effort underway all around us to feminize men. And that's just wrong. I'm sorry, it is. And now we have different, now the University of Wisconsin is jumping. We've already seen other colleges have these anti-masculinity classes and courses and seminars, and now the University of Wisconsin is jumping on board in trying to feminize men because, masculinity is terrible. It degrades women. I don't think so. Masculinity doesn't degrade women any more than femininity degrades men. But if you try to feminize men, I think that's pretty devastating for both sexes. What a bunch of crock, this garbage. Some of it's hard. Well, I probably shouldn't use that word, but I'm going to anyway. Some of this garbage from the left is just hard to swallow. View that any way you want.
You're listening to the Rod Eccles Show, the coolest, most politically incorrect, conservative black man on the planet.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar. Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar. And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
603-835-3226. You know, I've really got to attack this paper pile more aggressively this next segment coming up. Really trying, folks, but there's just so much out there, so much to talk about. Zuckerberg. The Zuck is to study impact of globalization with a tour around the U.S. of A. Yes, that's the headline. This is from financialtimes.com. Facebook head to visit every single state to see how technology has created divisions. This comes on the heel of, them losing not only the election, but their $200 million satellite. Remember that? Was it Elon Musk's rocket exploded on the launch pad a couple of months ago. It was back in December, right? It was supposed to launch the Facebook satellite for free internet or something like that, but it was a $200 million satellite. Blew up right there on the launch pad. Kablooey. So Zuckerberg has two losses that he has to live down. So now he's going to go out there and try to portray being a winner by figuring out why people hate him so much. Trust me, this is what he's doing. I mean, he's going to run around the country trying to figure out why people hate him so much. Because he's not a very liked person. And from people who've worked for him on the inside say he's not a nice guy. They say that about a lot of... It's not often that you hear about a successful person, self-made person, billionaire especially, who people say that, oh, yeah, they're a fantastic, wonderfully nice guy. And people don't often speak very eloquently about people like Larry Ellison, the Apple guy there. Both Tim Cook and his predecessor, Steve Jobs, have been called out by former employees as not being very nice. Jobs has been called a total a-hole a number of times. So it's nothing new. It's not rare that people don't like Zuck. But, he's had this problem, this awkward type of interface with other people since the start. So I guess now he's going to embark on a tour of the U.S. following Donald Trump's election as president and his loss of their satellite in December, I guess, in an attempt to understand how the country has been divided by the impact of globalization and technology. Yes, the CEO of the world's largest social network has made it a personal challenge to have visited people in every state in the U.S. by the end of this year to discover how they are living, working, and thinking about the future. Wait, I thought he already knew everything because everybody just vomits all their information to him on Facebook. Evidently, he doesn't know enough. And so now he's got to go out there in person to visit all of us. I don't know. I don't need Zuckerberg to come to New Hampshire or New England to try to figure us out. That's Zuck for you. He's look, you got to understand, Facebook, there's one thing that I will, the guy's not dumb. Zuckerberg is a very smart man. And yeah, he's a man. He's 30-something years old now. I can't call him a kid anymore. And he's got a baby. Right? He does have a child, right? Yeah. I don't know. Does he have a son or a daughter? I don't keep up with these people like that. Does he have 2 kids now? I don't know. I don't really care. He's got at least 1 kid, and it's a boy or a girl, one or the other. Unless, of course, you're going to the University of Wisconsin, then, it might be both. Might be a he, she, who knows? because they can do all that kind of stuff now. Now that, England has been able to, in the world's first tri-parented baby should be born in about 9 months. So they've got the DNA of 2 dads and a mom inserted into a fertilized egg. So Zucks might be a he-she baby. I have no idea.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us,
after this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please call or go online right now.
I'm not Rod Eccles, and I approve this message.
Hey, folks, before I forget, I need to make a quick announcement, and because, I can get rolling and forget certain things, even though I'm looking at my show notes and everything else right in front of me, and don't get to it, so I'll get to it now. I will be interviewed this evening on the Tap Into the Truth program at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Blog Talk Radio. And you spell Tap with two P's, T-A-P-P. That's his last name is Tap. So isn't that cute? Tap Into the Truth at 7 p.m. On Blog Talk Radio. I guess I'll be there for about a half hour or so is what's scheduled for. So if you want to listen to me on another program, see what questions they ask me and how I answer them, then that's your chance to do it. I don't shy away from interviews. I don't particularly like doing them, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, right? And most of the time they actually end up being very fun. So, and they usually ask good questions. And there've been a couple of times when I haven't been enamored with either the host or the style of the program, whatever. But I was on that program last year at this time. They do a beginning of the year, end of the year type of review thing, and I was with them last year, and I guess it was a big hit. So he's asked me back. So there you are tonight at 7 on Tap Into the Truth program, TAPP, at 7 p.m. over on Blog Talk Radio, BTR. He actually has a very large following over there, too. Did you know this, that there's a rehab for millennials struggling with failure to launch? Yeah, it's now a mental disorder, I guess, somehow. Well, it's called the failure to launch syndrome. I kid you not. There's a rehab in Evanston, Illinois, for millennials struggling with failure to launch syndrome and other issues such as mood and anxiety disorders that prevent them from becoming functioning adults in society. This is all a part of that participation trophy generation. How is it? How is it a mental disorder, a mood and anxiety disorder that prevents you from becoming a functioning adult? There's a rehab for millennials. Now, well, if you've got a millennial in your basement, maybe you need to get them checked into this place. It's called Yellow Brick. Yellow Brick. Follow the Yellow Brick Road. It aims to address the unique challenges of the emerging adult population through programs that emphasize multi-specialty evaluation. What the hell is multi-specialty evaluation? What do they? Who sits down and makes this stuff up? It also has therapeutic residences. I don't know what any of this stuff is. Research-based strategies and life skills interventions. Life skills intervention. The 10-year-old, it's been around for 10 years. A 10-year-old facility reportedly costs about $27,000 a month. Now, who the hell can afford that? Well, hey, I guess, if you're going to spend, $60 to $150,000 in a college education at these stupid institutes of higher learning. Maybe it's does Obamacare cover that? Rehab for failure to launch syndrome. Sometimes I just can't believe what I read. What comes up. I mean, it's not surprising considering what these millennials have proven themselves to be like. But really, somebody really is it? Man, I should have thought of that. $27,000 a month? I could start a program that would actually really work. I mean, I wouldn't have anything like these nut jobs have. I wouldn't call it yellow brick. Well, maybe, yellow brick's maybe not a bad word, but, I wouldn't have anything like multi-speciality evaluation. I don't even know what the hell that is. And I wouldn't need any research-based strategies and life skills interventions. I just tell them to grow up, woman up and man up, for crying out loud, like every generation did before them. Why is it these kids don't think that they have to go through everything that their parents and grandparents and great-grandparents down through history, time memorial, went through? Why is it they don't have to go through that? How is it they can't handle going through that? It's just failure to launch syndrome. Good God Almighty. How about you just make your kids grow up and kick them off the couch or something, It'd be failure to launch syndrome. This is from Reuters. Trump team seeks agency records on border barriers and surveillance. Yes, in a wide-ranging request for documents and analysis, President-elect Donald Trump's transition team has asked the Department of Homeland Security last month to assess all assets available for border wall and barrier construction. Oh, I'm sure they're probably going to delay that as long as possible, giving him everything he needs. I wonder if the transition teams ever get redacted documents. For those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Real Linda, when you have a request for Freedom of Information Act type of request, and you get the documents back to you. A lot of times, if not every time, there'll be certain lines or sentences blacked out that you cannot read. And they just don't take a magic marker and black it out. I mean, it's just a black line. There's nothing there. You can't read behind it. No matter what you do or what you try, you cannot read behind it. Black marker you could, but this type of blackout, redaction, you can't read it. So I wonder if they get any redacted documents. The team also asked about the department's capacity for expanding immigrant detention and about an aerial surveillance program that was scaled back by the Obama administration but remains popular with immigration hardliners. And it asked whether, Obama scaled back some border watching, did he? But I thought he was catching people and deporting more people than ever before. Was he waiting for them to get caught doing crimes here in this country before he does something to them or for them or with them? It asked whether federal workers have altered biographic information kept by the department about immigrants out of concern for their civil liberties as well. So Trump is already looking at, he's build the wall, right? He's going to build there are a lot of people out there that think it's actually going to be a physical, beautiful brick wall type of thing, with marble inlay or something. No, we're I don't know how long the border between Pacific Ocean and the Gulf is along, I don't know how many miles that is, 2,000 miles or so. But we're not going to build a 2,000-mile physical wall. We don't need to, not with today's technology. You put a wall up in certain areas, certain mileage, physical wall, and you use other tactics and other means of watching and protection on other parts. And in more densely populated areas, you probably want to have a physical wall. And I don't want... what's going to happen is people are going to get disappointed because Trump won't actually build... I don't believe he's going to try to do it anyway, but he won't actually build a full entire border physical, 50-foot high wall structure. There's not going to be guard towers like every mile or whatever, however many feet. Every 5,000 feet, you're not going to see a guard tower manned by 2 or 3 people at all times. It's not the way it's going to work. How it will work is in that in the more populated and more popular crossing zones, you will probably see a physical wall that goes up into the air as well as down into the ground to prevent tunneling. And in other places where crossing is less popular, you'll probably see more technological types of a wall, like drones and electronic detections. And I was watching last night. I caught anybody ever watch on A&E Hunting Hitler? I am convinced now that Hitler did not die in that bunker in Berlin at the end of World War II, but he escaped. Did you know that they found another exit to the bunker? Hitler's bunker. Supposedly they didn't back then. They didn't know it was there, but they found another exit. He could have very easily have snuck out the back door to that bunker. And there is evidence that he did, that he made it to Spain and then went down into South America. And there's all kinds of, in Argentina and Peru, there are what very much appear to be, and they definitely are, German installations and buildings. But one of the things that they did in I think it's Peru is that they have this base. Now, we're talking 50s and 60s here. This base was outlined in such a sophisticated manner. There was no way you could enter this base enter the base because it was fenced off. But there's no way you can enter that base without being detected. The fence was wired with detectors. The ground outside the fence was wired with detectors. And on a hill, not too far away, 5 miles away, there was this enormous high tower that looked directly down upon. They could see the entire base from that tower. There was no way and there were lights all around certain parts of the fencing. There was no way you could get on that base undetected. We're talking 50s and 60s technology here. Infrared sensors everywhere. Well, we can do the same thing. We don't need in some places we don't need an actual physical barrier. It can be an electronic barrier. We can detect when people cross. That also means we can also detect seismic activity. So if they try to tunnel under, we can detect it. And we can pinpoint exactly where that seismic activity is coming from. Because even just walking or crawling underground creates a type of seismic activity that can be picked up by sensors. We have the technology and the ability. We've had it for decades now. So it's not really all that new. About the only thing new is, drones. Now you don't have to have towers everywhere. You can just put up drones. So they're looking already to get this information. So Trump is moving. Before he even gets into office, he's moving. That's an important note, folks. There's a lot to building a wall. Now, of course, some of that surveillance information that Trump wants also has to do with surveillance on you and me. Yeah, we know our own government has done the unconstitutional, the illegal, and the unthinkable spying on us. They weren't supposed to do that. We were told they weren't going to do that, but they've been doing it. And they've also, the transition team has also asked for information about that. Will changes be coming as far as our own privacy and our government spying on us? You know, there's a lot of expectations coming up with the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Let's be clear. We're all like Putin in this particular case. We like to think that we know what Trump is going to do, but he is an unknown governing commodity. None of us have any idea. We think we do. The truth is, we really don't have any idea what a President Trump is going to be like. Scary and exciting at the same time.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar. Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar. And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
Do you know what Obama's doing? When it comes to immigration stuff, well, maybe you know this and maybe you don't, but he's not being very nice to the country when he's by doing this, because he's playing on our emotions, actually. But MRCTV.org is reporting Obama releases 220 illegal alien kids per day as the border crisis escalates as we get closer to a Trump inauguration and a potential closing of that border. During the month of November alone, the Obama administration sent enough border-crossing illegal alien children to live in American communities to fill up 12 Washington, D.C. middle schools. You do realize that we have to educate these kids right now, right? And now, who's footing that bill? The taxpayer. You got it. I mean, that 12 middle schools? We got to start building schools just in order to house these illegal aliens that Obama is letting in. In fact, strung out over the entire 30-day period, the Obama administration processed and turned loose an astonishing 6,600 plus illegal alien kids who recently crossed the U.S.-Mexican border unlawfully. Surprised they use the term unlawfully. Averaging more than 220 kids per day, the administration leased about 600 more kids in November than they did during the month of October, when only about 6,000 children were sent to live with sponsors in the U.S., pending their day in immigration court. In 2 months, over 12,000 of these kids, instead of sending them back to mommy and daddy who sent them across the border to begin with, is that mean of me to say that? Because you know that's what's happening. Because mom and dad realize that, we may not be able to get across the border and stay, but if we send little Juan and Juanita across the border, well, the Americans are just stupid enough to take them in, send them to live with sponsors. They'll go to their immigration court where a judge will say, well, you're just a little kid. They get to stay. And of course, if they get to stay, well, they should be able to get their mommy and daddy to come along. Well, if they have any siblings too, they can't leave them behind. So the entire family gets to come, because that's exactly what happens. And it happens all too often. Which is how we get this stupid immigration policy where we get all these people coming across the border who end up illegally, that end up staying. They're getting smart, people. They figured out how they can get here legally through an illegal means. Send their children ahead of them. Because eventually, within a year or two, they will be able to join them legally. In the meantime, the kid gets taken care of by somebody else, you and me, the taxpayer. The kid gets educated by somebody else, you and me, the taxpayer. And then when mommy and daddy and brother and sister and cousin come to live with them, guess who gets to take care of them and make sure they get on their feet? Well, you and me, the taxpayer. And this is all done by the wonderful and overly loving Barack Hussein Obama, 44th president of these United States of America. They are using children to further their agenda. I'm talking about the American left, not the Mexican. They're using children to further their agenda. And you know what, folks? Looks like by the numbers, it's working. But again, who's footing this huge bill? Because this is not cheap. That's right. We're footing the bill. We, you, me, the American taxpayer. Doesn't that piss you off?
The following program is recommended for mature individuals and may contain material unsuitable for morons, cretins, and dishwipes. If you are a moron or a member of the PTL Club, please turn off your radio, because we don't need any more stupid, narrow-minded, pencil-neck geeks who wouldn't know the First Amendment if it came up and bit them on the butt. Thank you.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar. Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar. And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
The following letters were written by our troops.
My dear fellow Americans, I truly appreciate your support. I was starting to wonder if people had forgotten about us over here, but then one of my buddies showed me this website, and now as tears are streaming down my face, I can see for sure that you haven't. Private Emily B., U.S. Army.
It's so heartwarming to see the American people not letting the men and women of the armed forces be forgotten. Your letters make a group of grown men, battle-hardened and gruff, act like a bunch of kids around a Christmas tree. Thanks. Staff Sergeant Matthew H., U.S. Army.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. But don't take our word for it. Take theirs. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Were you born from 1945 to 1965? People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C. So even if you try to eat right, exercise, and take care of yourself, you could still have hepatitis C, a serious disease that's a leading cause of liver cancer. If you were born from 1945 to 65, you should get a blood test for hepatitis C. Treatments can cure this disease. Talk to your doctor about getting tested. A message from the CDC.
See that cute little dog in the pet store window? Chances are it came from a puppy mill, a breeding facility that forces caged, neglected, and often sick dogs to churn out puppy after puppy to be sold for profit. Meanwhile, millions of wonderful, healthy pets end up in animal shelters. This leads to the killing of more than 9,000 by the end of today. But with one simple choice, you can help. Just by deciding to adopt instead of purchase your next pet. Animal shelters are full of amazing pets looking for a home. When you adopt your new best friend, not only are you saving a life, you're taking a stand against puppy mills. When your friends see the smart choice and impact you've made, they adopt their next pet and share with 5 of their friends, who share with 5 more. Before long, thousands get involved. Pet stores stop selling dogs from puppy mills, and even more lives are saved. And with your help, we can save them all. Visit bestfriends.org/puppymills to learn more.
Thousands of families affected by disasters, like the recent wildfires, urgently need support. You can help the American Red Cross provide warm meals, shelter, and hope to families when they need it most. Please donate today to Red Cross Disaster Relief to help people affected by disasters, big and small. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS today. Your support is critical. We can't do it without you.
You want to know what time it is? It's time to bring the rain.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Welcome back. Hour number 3 already here on the Rod Eccles Show. It is I, your lovable host, Elrod, coming to you live from the bunkerized studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It isn't big government a bust. 603-835-3226 is the number. Now, this is the hour we're going to get into some more meaty stuff. And folks, I mean, this hour is not going to go well. Let me just put it that way. Because this is stuff that every time I think about it, I get livid. But it's important for you to hear and know. First off, we have the Fox Insider, Fox News. The sanctuary city mayors press Obama to protect illegal immigrants from Trump's actions. Sanctuary city mayors. I mean, these are the same damn cities that are just rife with crime and murder and mayhem. Chicago, anyone? Sanctuary city, by the way. I thought sanctuaries were supposed to be safe. How the hell is it safe if your crime rate goes through the roof? Not to mention, a sanctuary city is a federal crime. Why aren't these mayors being locked up left and right? Dozens of sanctuary city mayors penned a lengthy letter to President Obama urging him to take last-minute steps to extend federal protections for illegal immigrants before President-elect. They have no protections. They're illegal. The letter presses Obama to undertake steps to support 740,000 people currently in the United States under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA statute. 750,000 people here illegally. We know them. And these freaking mayors want to make sure that they get to stay by breaking the law. Of course, signees. Well, here you go. Here are some of the mayors. Bill de Blasio of New York. By the way, they're all Democrats. Not a Republican appears to be among them. Eric Garcetti of Los Angeles, Rahm Emanuel, Chicago. Yeah, the murder capital of the entire freaking world, and he's going to call himself a sanctuary city. James Kenney of Philadelphia. Pam Heminger of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. What the hell is going on in North Carolina? Why the hell are you electing this kind of a person down there? Ed Pawlowski of Allentown, PA. No, we know they have troubles there. Ed Lee of San Francisco. You can't get more liberal than San Francisco in my book. That needs to be the first city to be locked down. Stephanie Miner of Syracuse, New York. Yes, my old hometown. And Ike Leggett, the county executive of Washington, D.C. Or a suburb of D.C. Are you kidding me? This is what the letter says and reads in part, and I quote, "We urge that you continue your support for immigration communities in the last few weeks of your presidency. Specifically, we suggest that your administration, 1, continue support for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, recipients, and 2, continued support for immigrants who have Temporary Protected Status, or TPS. First, we encourage you to undertake steps to support over 740,000 DACA recipients in the USA. DACA has tremendously benefited our communities by helping our... They've not benefited your communities. They've drained your communities of money. They're not contributing. Hot air. Senate Dems planning unprecedented obstruction of cabinet nominees. These people just aren't going to stop, are they? They're going to roll on with their obstructionism. Why? Because they got to protect their stupid little illegal sanctuary cities. They're not even going to give this man a chance because right out of the gate they're already talking about obstructing him. Senate Democrats planning unprecedented obstruction of cabinet nominees just to start the ball rolling. Democratic senators plan to aggressively target 8 of Donald Trump's. If the Republicans did this to Barack Obama, you would have saw the left ignite like a nuclear bomb. But it is quite all right if they go ahead and do it to Republicans. This is a man that the American people voted. You lost. Get over it. That's what you've been telling us for 8 years. Obama won. Obama won. If you're not a racist, you lost on the right, so get over it. Oh, it gets better, folks. It gets way better. It gets a lot better. There is a new Hollywood video. Now, I'm not going to name any of the names in this video, but there are some famous actors. You know them all. You've got the black guy from Westworld. Yeah, you know him. I thought I was going to start to watch Westworld, but now, whenever I watch Westworld now, all I'm going to see is what I'm about to play you. You got the former girlfriend of Burt Reynolds, Sally Fields. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to mention a name. Yeah, she's in it too, but you could probably recognize her voice. And that wonderful, the guy with the bug eyes, in the face only a mother could love, Buscemi. Yeah, he's in it too. I really liked him. But you think that the Democrats in Washington, D.C. just thought of this all on their own to do this obstructionist stuff? Well, this video, like the Martin Sheen debacle crap video about trying to turn 37 Republican electors not to vote for Trump, this is even worse. I'm going to tell you right now, you need to get someplace where there's nothing breakable. Because it is going to ignite you. Even if it's only half as much as I did, that I went off when I first heard this. Let me just play it. Here is this is a clip from the new it's a video now. It's a video. You can see it on YouTube. We'll link to it on rodeccles.net. All these wonderful actors talking about doing what they expect Congress to do, what the Democrats are already planning to do. Obstruct, obstruct, obstruct.
Dear members of Congress.
Dear members of Congress.
Dear members of Congress. Dear members of Congress.
I'm mad.
Flabbergasted.
Furious.
Concerned for my children.
I'm worried for everyone.
The majority of Americans, regardless of who they voted for,
did not vote for racism,
for sexism, or for xenophobia.
And yet Donald Trump won.
And since he won,
hate crimes are rising.
Women have been attacked in his name.
People of color attacked in his name.
You represent us in Congress.
You are our last line of defense.
So here's what we ask of our elected officials.
No, here's what we demand.
To the extent that Trump pursues racist,
sexist, anti-immigrant,
anti-worker, anti-Muslim, anti-Semitic, anti-environmental policies,
we demand that you vigorously oppose him.
We demand that you block nominees who threaten the rights of women,
the LGBT community,
people of color, immigrants, and the poor.
And we want you to know that we are with you.
As long as you do that stuff, we won't remain silent.
We won't remain silent.
We won't remain silent.
We'll work harder to mobilize our votes
and our communities.
But we need you.
And we expect you to have our backs.
To protect our civil liberties and to use your congressional powers
to obstruct.
To obstruct.
Obstruct. Obstruct. Defeat.
Anything.
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 Anything that violates our core values as diverse Americans.
Signed, the majority.
The majority.
The majority.
The majority.
The majority.
The majority
of the American people.
3, 2, 1, 0. Rock this joint!
Are you kidding me? You have got to be out of your ever-loving freaking mind to put forth that kind of rubbish. The majority of the American people do not agree with the leftist Hollywood. These people are asinine. Obstruct, obstruct, obstruct. So let's not get a damn thing done in Washington, D.C. Not let's make this country better. Let's do everything we possibly can to keep this country down because we're butthurt that you didn't vote for our candidate. And every time we turn around, all of that wonderful stuff that's done in Donald Trump's name is done by a Hillary-supporting Democrat. Not a racist, bigoted, homophobic. The only people who are racist, bigoted, and homophobic are on the damn left. You've got to be out of your freaking mind if you vote for these people, if you ever support them again. Unbelievable. Racist, homophobic, what? I'm sorry, you hypocritical bastards. Wasn't it a bunch of black people who boycotted the Oscars because the Hollywood left were the racist bigots? Yes! What the I'm gonna blow a gasket.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar. Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar. And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
603-835-3226. The truth is, folks, that these liberal nut jobs, these whiny, hypocritical, mamby-pamby, racist, bigoted a-holes are on full display right now. You don't run out there and if we had done that on the right to Barack Hussein Obama in either one of his terms as president, the left would have ignited. But as I have always told you and warned you, all you have to do is they may be pointing the finger at us, but they've got three fingers pointing back at them because they are trying to obfuscate the facts. The truth is that they're the truthful, hateful, narrow-minded, bigoted, assholic people that there are. There is nobody else. It's them. And as far as them being the majority, well, boom, I've got some news for you. Gallup poll. Conservatives outnumber liberals in the USA. So what freaking majority are they talking about? Oh, only the majority that counts? Maybe the illegal majority. But it sure as hell isn't the majority of this country. And if I hear one more time about how Hillary Clinton beat Donald Trump by 2.8 million votes, well, that's just such a freaking lie. We know that there's at least 4 million of those votes are fake and fraudulent. She lost. She lost the popular vote. She lost the Electoral College. If you want fact for freaking fact, they lost. They lost all across the country. And it's about damn time that we conservatives and Republicans actually made them understand that. This is freaking nonsensical and ridiculous that we have to continue going through this. And you've got the freaking Republicans already starting to act a little waffly. Well, we don't know if we can do this right away. We don't know if we can do that right away. We don't know if we should do it this way. No, just freaking do it. You've got the momentum. You've got the mandate. They lost. Get over it. The American people have firmly and thoroughly rejected your bullshit one more time. How many times do we have to defeat you? How many? We've been defeating you and your ilk and your ideas since 2010. How many more times do we gotta whip your asses? How many? Do we got to do it in 2016 or 2018? Well, yeah, we're going to do it then too. Do we got to do it in 2020? I bet you sure as hell we'll do it then too, because if Donald Trump gets half of what he said he wanted to do, this country and the economy is going to be so much better than Obama ever could have possibly have even dreamed it would be. There's no way in hell this country is going to flip. We're even going to start seeing millennials actually grow up. We are the majority. I have always said that this country is right of center. We are not center. We are not left of center. And there's a freaking poll out there by a group of people that is professional at doing polls that isn't a bunch of right-wingers either. Gallup is pretty left-leaning. And their poll says this country, majority of this country, the people in this country are conservative. So what majority, Sally Fields, Mr. Buscemi, et al., are you talking about? Your own little bubble majority in Hollywood and Washington, D.C., and yeah, New York and Chicago. You can't even win when you cheat. That's how bad you got beat. Trust me, folks, the reason why they're losing their minds, the left has totally lost their collective minds. The reason why they have lost their collective minds is because this is the only time in history when there was such massive cheating and they still lost. Which goes to show you and tell you just how badly they really lost. They understand it. They can't believe it. They don't want to accept it, but they know it. Which is why they have this mantra that they're still trying to push. Well, notice how they've all of a sudden started calming down on that. We don't hear about the 2.8 million votes more that Hillary got. Why? Because just about every day, more and more evidence is coming out about all the fraudulent voting. We saw it firsthand when Jill Stein went into Michigan and demanded a recount. And then we saw in one community alone, only 50 ballots were cast, but over 350 votes were counted by the machine. Then the left went, oops, hold on, Jill, we better stop now. We know that at least 4 million dead people voted all across this country, and there's probably thousands more that did. So she wins by 2.8 million, 4 million illegal votes. Guess what? She loses by 1.2 million. Or even more. And trust me, these people see it, hear it, know it, understand it. Which is why they've lost their freaking mind. I swear to God, they almost made me drop the F-bomb on my own program. It's supposed to be a family-friendly show. I don't think I have ever been that livid on the air before. And what's worse, that's not the first time I've heard that. I had to make sure that my program desk here was clear of breakable stuff. The only thing I couldn't throw was my computers. I mean, this whole notion that these people think that they know what's best, they're the reason that we're in the mess that we're in now. But none of I'm sorry, maybe somebody ought to. You remember the blacklist in Hollywood? Well, we're too young for that. But remember the historically speaking, the blacklist of Hollywood when McCarthy era was around? Well, maybe we should have something similar today. But this list will name all the conservative actors and musicians out there, so we know who more to support and who more to avoid. I'm not giving them another dime of my money if this is how they're going to act. Forget it.
The Red Cross responds to nearly 66,000 disasters every year, most of them house fires. Red Cross President and CEO Gail McGovern says you need to develop an evacuation plan and practice it, especially with your children. It takes just 2 minutes for a home to be engulfed in flames.
Practice those drills. We all think our kids know what to do. They don't. We need to teach them. We have started a large campaign where we're going into vulnerable communities and helping install smoke alarms. Already 92 lives were saved, and 4 of those lives were saved by a 5-year-old girl who remembered what we taught them during these fire drills, and she got her family out. We also have a slew of free apps that people can download onto their smartphones. It's what to do in every kind of disaster you can imagine, how to prepare and how to recover.
To help support all the Red Cross does and to make a financial donation, go to redcross.org. That's redcross.org.
I'm just so happy my father had a chance to see his kids before he passed. I just want to say thank you.
When her father fell ill, the American Red Cross was able to help get Veronica's brother home from the Navy to speak to his father one last time. It's thanks to your donations that we can connect military families when they need it most. Please donate today at redcross.org.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today, or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please, call or go online right now.
Bring the rain.
They just don't stop, by the way. The hits just keep on coming in. They just keep rolling in from the left, from these wonderful people that we call entertainers. Remember, they're just entertainers. Bruce Springsteen has stated that he's scared of a Trump presidency. And he asked the question, how could you not be? Every possible thing that you could possibly be afraid of Trump for, most of which he's not even going to come close to doing, is the exact reason you should have been afraid of a Hillary presidency. I mean, maybe it's not the millennials that need one of these, sort of mental institutions in order to failure to launch syndrome. Maybe it's these celebrities and other. Well, it's true. Liberalism is a complete mental disorder. Musician Bruce Springsteen said in a new interview he is scared of what will happen under President-elect Donald Trump when he takes office this month. Yeah, of course, Springsteen told host Mark Maron of the WTF podcast. How could you not be? I felt disgust before, Springsteen said, but never the kind of fear that you feel now. It's as simple as the fear of it's someone simply competent enough to do this particular job. Do they simply have the pure competence to be in the position of such responsibility? You didn't ask that question about Barack Obama. Where was his competency test? The man was the least experienced, least competent president that we've had in the last at least 100 years. And that's saying something. I mean, I know I have said before, maybe what we need is in the White House and in Congress is a bunch of political amateurs, much like the founding fathers were political amateurs when they started this country. But make no mistake about it, I was not talking about the kind of amateur that is Barack Hussein Obama. The founders were not community organizers. They had real jobs and real businesses, real lives. That was not Barack Obama. They didn't buy into the hype that Obama bought into, that everybody tried to foist upon him. He bought into it and said, yeah, I'm great. I'm going to be president. And the only reason he won is because the left decided to say, well, you know what? If you vote against this guy, you're a racist. And they pounded it over and over and over and over again. Being a racist is worse than being a sexist. Hillary was a woman, so if you didn't like Hillary, you're a sexist. But you know what's worse than being a sexist? Being a racist in this day and age. This is 2007, 2008. You can't be a racist now. That's just passé. And a bunch of Americans said, yeah, well, I'm not a racist. I'll prove it I'm not a racist. And you want me to prove I'm not a racist? Yeah, go ahead, prove you're not a racist. Well, I'll prove I'm not a racist. I'll vote for him. How's that? That'll prove I'm not a racist. Because that's exactly what happened in 2008. American people were berated into believing that if they didn't vote for this guy, it was simply because you didn't like the color of his skin or the shape of his nose. And trust me, he played up on that. I know I don't have a name similar to what you're used to for president. I know I don't look like all those other guys. He wasn't referring to his facial features, but his skin tone. But no, that didn't worry Bruce Springsteen back in 2008 when a complete novice took over the helm of the United States government. But all of a sudden, a very successful billionaire is now going to scare him to death? Are you kidding me? I cannot take these idiots anymore. Well, personally, I never really liked Bruce Springsteen and his music all that much to begin with. I was never a fan. Yeah, he's kind of like Bruce Springsteen in my book is the American version. He's from New Jersey, right? He's the American New Jersey version of the Rolling Stones. I have never liked it. I know there are a lot of people out there that love the Stones. I have never liked the Rolling Stones. I have always classified the Rolling Stones as the worst sounding successful rock band in the world. They sound terrible. I'm not saying they don't have any talent. Well, Mick Jagger can't sing, but they sound terrible. Bruce Springsteen, on the other hand, he just sucked as far as I was concerned. I never liked him. I know a lot of my friends liked him, went to his concerts. I didn't like him. Guess I have good taste. There were others that I could never understand how they made it big back in the, it doesn't matter. We've always had these bands that just seem to flourish and they don't have any talent. Duran Duran, anybody? How about Wham? Yeah, well, I guess they were bubblegum pop back then, and that was fine. By the way, George Michael's lover has come out and said that George Michael killed himself. I don't know if it's true, but just in case you're trying to follow that story, evidently George Michael either purposefully or accidentally committed suicide. Drugs, pretty much. Well, how else do you explain heart failure at the age of 53? He wasn't fat. But hey, these are the people that run around, all these wonderful people. Isn't it so wonderful how they got into drugs? They did drugs. Oh my God, they were almost dead and they went into rehab and now look at them. Robert Downey Jr., anybody? Over the past decade, Robert Downey Jr. is one of the biggest stars out there. The guy was in and out of rehab a few times. And now we're supposed to put him up on a pedestal. Oh, he got clean. He's so wonderful. No, he's an a-hole. Yeah, I like his movies, and for the most part, I don't know much about his political stance because he keeps his mouth shut. Good for him. That's a halfway smart actor right there. I don't care if you don't hear a lot of conservative actors talking out. Sometimes they'll get, they'll do like Rosie did to Tom Selleck, kind of force him to talk about it. But for the most part, they don't usually spout off what their political views are, whether they're, well, maybe that's because right-leaning actors tend to be smarter. They must have a higher IQ. Can you imagine if Tom Selleck and a bunch of right-leaning actors and musicians made a video, any one of the three videos that are big right now with the left, if they made any one of those types of videos against Barack Obama, can you imagine the fallout for that? None of them would ever work again. None of them. You wouldn't see Tom Selleck on Blue Bloods on TV, that's for damn sure. It's just totally asinine. Hey, another wonderful liberal idea has run into a major obstacle. Yes, this is being reported by the wonderful liberal-leaning Bloomberg.com. The Swedish 6-hour workday experiment runs into trouble. Yeah, remember, it's a few months ago I brought you this story that they were going to try this 6-hour workday. I have a couple of cousins that live in Sweden. And look, I've heard from people over there that is the Sweden. We like to try to think that Sweden is this land of. There's even a comedy TV show, Welcome to Sweden, that I thought was halfway funny, about Sweden, and it makes fun of the Swedish type of lifestyle for good reason. But it's like this utopia in the Great White North of Europe, I guess. But it isn't so. Because Swedes looking forward to 6-hour workdays just got some bad news. The cost outweigh the benefits. Now, before this, we were told that, the 6-hour workday was better than the 8-hour workday because we'd get more done, they'd be more productive, it'd be wonderful, it'd save costs because, the buildings wouldn't have to be open or running for so long and blah, 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 blah. Well, as it turns out, as I said back then, as many on the right who actually use their brains, we figured out that it was dumb. Well, the 2-year experiment cutting working hours while maintaining pay levels for nurses at the Svartendale old people's home in Swedish city of Gothenburg is now nearing the end. The takeaway was largely positive, with nurses at the home feeling healthier. They feel healthier, but they may not be any healthier, which reduced sick leave and patient care. It was improving, but the city has no plans in making the measurement permanent or broadening it to other facilities. To do it would need much more money and even help from the national government to cover the reduced hours for 68 nurses. The home had to hire 17 extra staff at a cost of about 1.3 million American dollars. And they actually didn't get, according to this article, they did not, when real standards were put into play, they didn't get more done. So it costs more. Well, it was good for employment, right? Because, they had to hire more people. But 6 hours a day, you're not working full time now. At least not by this country's standards. Yeah, well, it is what it is, folks. They want to try all this stuff that we know isn't going to work anyway. Speaking of not working, the great state of New York is obviously not working. Here's a piece from the Times Union, which is evidently out of New York, right? Yeah. The Times Union out of New York. The 2016 National Movers study by Fenton, Missouri-based United Movers has found that more people are moving out of New York than moving in. That's right. United Van Lines reported Tuesday that nearly 2/3 of the moves involving New York households were outbound, a higher proportion than any other state except New Jersey and Illinois. Oh, Illinois, Chicago. You think people might be leaving Chicago? The moving company also found that almost 59% of the moves within the eastern United States were outbound. Where were people moving? Mostly to western states and the Carolinas, with one exception. That exception was Vermont, which ranked second on the list of states with the highest proportion, 67% of inbound moves. Sorry, Vermont, you must be getting all of those New Yorkers, which explains your extreme liberal bent. South Dakota had the highest share of inbound moves at 68%. New Jersey and Illinois, like New York, saw outbound moves making up 63% of all moves. People are leaving these liberal states in droves. And except for Vermont, they seem to be moving to more conservative states like the Carolinas. Look, when I was in the Carolinas last year to give a couple of speeches, there were a lot of New Englanders down there. You know, they were retired or close to retirement, but there are a lot of New Englanders, and I said, y'all got to move back because you're leaving a void where a bunch of liberals are moving in and taking your place, and it's killing us up here. But no, they moved to the Carolinas. In Dakota, we know because of all that oil. Yes, Carolinas got all that. They got all that oil in California or in the Dakotas. You know that terrible thing that doesn't produce jobs. At least that's what the left likes to make you believe. Doesn't. No, we need alternative energy jobs, man. That's where the new jobs are. It's not in this carbon-based stuff anymore. Really? We'll tell that to the Dakotas that have been booming for the past 10 years or so. We'll be back to wrap it up, folks.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
It started with a knock, but it wouldn't end there. What happens in the story next, many wouldn't understand, and most wouldn't believe. 5 + 2 = Perfection by Samuel Rosette Jr. is a must-read. The scriptures within are reminders of the ancient past, and yet intriguingly infuses with texts which stand on the edge of the stage of relevancy. Available online at Westbow Press, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, and SamuelRosetteJr.com.
We've all heard of male enhancement, but now there's an expert on true male enhancement in the areas that really count. In Herb Ellis's book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, you'll find answers to questions like, why doesn't she want to have sex? A quick start, quick results workout guide. Plus, what you can do as a side hustle to make money now. With all the great tips in this book, every man can benefit. Get the book, Husband 2.0, Real Male Enhancement, on Amazon.com.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, a long-haired young person came into our bank and said to me, I bet you won't lend me money to buy an electric guitar. Well, he was making $100 a week, and he was over 18, and I said, I bet you I will lend you money to buy an electric guitar. And I did. So what happens? The punk gets busted for possession of dangerous drugs, and we're out $350. There's one thing about kids nowadays. You don't have to give them credit.
Universal Bank. We trust you. About as far as we can throw you.
Soy el Diego y soy un femicida porque todas se mueren cuando ven que mi ropa no combina. Yo hago música para agarrar.
Well, guess what's happening in Italy? Italy is kind of a powder keg about to explode. Is what's happening in Italy. Italians are demanding mass deportations as more than 500,000 people have poured into the country. Hey, you know, if they start doing that, they're not the only country, though. I mean, you get Swedish have been starting to think about mass deportations. You know, the German people, not the German government, German people have been wanting mass deportations. Even the French people are starting to think that way. These refugees are not coming in peace. They're disruptive. And you got this little Vermont town, Rutland, Vermont. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. Rutland, Vermont. It's a town of less than 18,000 people. I've been to Rutland. It's a cute, beautiful, typical, bucolic New England kind of town. It's quiet as all get out. I mean, the big excitement for the day for the police department there right now is probably catching a speeder doing 35 in a 30 mile per hour zone. I'm not kidding. It's that kind of a place. Less than 18,000 people. Beautiful little town. Well, the mayor wants to make it a sanctuary city, sanctuary town, and wants to resettle more than 100 refugees there. In a town of 18,000, not even, he wants to bring in 100 of these people with a far different culture. They're Muslim in a bastion of Christianity. You know that's going to go over well. But hey, they elected the mayor, and nobody in the town seems to want this, but the mayor doesn't really care. He's like, yeah, well, we need the infusion. It'll be good for growth. Well, it's not going to bring any more jobs. Vermont is not a state where there's a lot of economic activity going on. There's not a lot of, job growth happening in Vermont. There just isn't. But yeah, hey, that's you import all those New Yorkers and Californians into Vermont, and this is what you get, Vermonters. Sorry. Wish I could snap my fingers and kick them all out for you, because I'd do it in a heartbeat, but it's just not going to happen. Speaking, and it's got the people of this town frustrated as all get out. Speaking of frustration, Yahoo News is reporting state Democrats are frustrated with National Committee. And this is Dateline, Concord, New Hampshire. Yeah, that's right. Here. Democrats around the country are demanding change from a national committee they say has focused too heavily on the White House at the expense of governorships, legislatures, and state party operations. Because they lost big again this year. So now this. Look, I told you this before. The Democrat Party has lost so much power. They're so out of power that you'd be hard pressed to call them a major party right now. Really, the only major party that we seem to have is the Republicans. But hey, who am I? I couldn't tell you anything about that. Anyway, I guess that's about it for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully I won't explode tomorrow. Blow a gasket. I don't want to have a heart attack. Thanks for listening this morning. We'll see you back here on Thursday morning. I'm Rod Eccles. This has been the Rod Eccles Show. Have a wonderful hump day. I'm out.
Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. A shameless politician always plays her cards right. Got a crew for the fight on the airwaves. Lapdogs in the press keep their mouths tight. Cause a Clinton never needs to explain what, why it is what they done or with who. A real Clinton knows that they're entitled, and you don't get to know what they do.
What difference does it make?
For a Clinton, what's loaded in some fat apple file? A Clinton plays the victim for promotion. A Clinton kills it off with a smile. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. A server full of secrets ain't no thing. Damn, it feels good to be a Clinton. Nothing ever hits with the sting.